We have breaking news from Capitol Hill. Majority Leader Steny Hoyer just announced on the Democratic caucus call that members should plan to return to Washington tomorrow to consider Congressman Jamie Raskin's resolution regarding the 25th Amendment. Votes could happen Tuesday night, and the House will meet at 9 a.m. on Wednesday to consider the article, or maybe articles, of impeachment. Meanwhile, social media is tightening up as outlets lock the president and some of his allies out of their communities one by one. But it is not just individual accounts. An entire platform called Parler, home to many of the plans for the violent insurrection, has been basically kicked offline. The Washington Post is also reporting that Cumulus Media, one of America's largest talk radio companies, home to popular right-leaning programs, has told its host to temper election fraud rhetoric or get fired. There's also a chill coming from corporations, big ones, pulling or pausing donations to Republicans and in some cases Democrats alike, but specifically Republicans who voted against certifying Joe Biden's win. And then there is also the PGA, which is pulling its 2022 championship from Trump's Bedminster golf course. Joining me now is NBC News reporter Brandy Zadrozny and early Facebook and Google investor and a former advisor to Mark Zuckerberg, Roger McNamee. Brandy, I want to start with you. Welcome to the program. It is good to have you on. You've done such incredible reporting. Let's talk about the platform Parler for a second. Having it being taken offline, what sort of effect is that going to have on this movement, if any at all, to stir up angry feelings towards lawmakers and to potentially plan another attack on the Capitol or other capitals around the country?
So we're going to see. What we think is going to happen here is that Parler was a place that when people got kicked off of Twitter for being QAnon people or Facebook for being militia people, what they did was they sort of flooded to Parler, which told everybody, we'll let you say basically whatever you want. And what they did was they said a lot of really scary things and had very extreme ideas. And we saw up to the Capitol siege, we saw them planning and talking about what they were going to do there. Now that they are no longer a place where these people can go, we're going to see a couple of things. One, we're going to see their numbers are going to dwindle because not everybody is going to know the alternative platform to go after Parler. It was already a big jump for everybody to go there. But the people that do follow the extremists and the white supremacists and the militia folks and the QAnon people down to even smaller alternative platforms, and I won't even name them here because we don't want them to do that. The people that do that are going to be the most toxic, the most dangerous, people, and to have them all in an echo chamber, we can probably be sure that they're going to continue what they've done and what led up into the Capitol riots.
Brandy, how does law enforcement monitor that? Because when I was covering a little bit of this, not to the extent that you do by any means, over the summer, I was told that part of the issue is that law enforcement can't just dip into these chat rooms and watch because there is no legal way for them to do that. They're constrained by First Amendment. So how do you, for lack of a better word, monitor what is happening and what's being stoked in these darker places on the internet?
We hear that a lot, that it's too hard operationally, or there are, concerns about whether it's the First Amendment or some other legal concerns. But I'll tell you, this wasn't happening in like deep dark web places. This was a Facebook group. I am in those groups, and you know how hard it is to join? You hit join and you're in. And that's the problem. Making it so easy to access these places is why we now have this mass, delusion, this mass radicalization where you have, moms and grandmas and people pushing baby strollers at the same event where you have people storming the Capitol looking to drag out lawmakers and execute them. Like, this is such a big problem now that even now tamping down on social media and not allowing these groups, it's already infected the brains of so many people, and I think it's a cop out to say we can't watch them anymore. They still are going to places. I'm not a rocket scientist and I'm able to follow them. Certainly law enforcement should be able to too.
And just to underscore that the threat's not over, the FBI is warning of possible armed protest at 50 state capitals on January 16th. Roger, as somebody who knows Silicon Valley very well, let's talk about what could happen to the Parler archive, which I imagine there is a Parler archive, and how law enforcement could use that now that they're looking back to try and arrest some of the people that were involved in the Capitol Hill protest, a riot, and potentially stop them from going out again.
So the most important thing I want to say right now is that Brandy and her partner, Ben Collins, are literally the best people in the business on this stuff, and everybody should pay very close attention. So what's going on here? The thing that I think has changed everything and has made these archives so important is that I don't think there's anything an elected official can do that is a greater crime than inciting an insurrection against a branch of government. I think that this is so far beyond the pale that all of us, and Katy, you know this from personal experience of covering Trump in 2016, that we were like a frog in water coming to a boil. You know, we just got normalized all of this extremism. But when you attack the Congress and 5 people die, that changes everything. And all of these corporations got scared silly, right? And so Amazon Web Services has been warning Parler for weeks that they had to do something. And I'll bet you that Amazon was just aware of future events and realizing, oh my God, we are probably liable because we are, in fact, enabling this to happen. That is certainly true of Facebook. That is certainly true of Twitter. And I suspect that their action now is based much less on a sense of civic duty than self-preservation relative to their legal position. And, you know, so what's happened is there was a hack yesterday for the prior few days, and they got all of the Parler data set because the company was so incompetent, had such terrible security. They literally got everything. And this will be a check on the FBI and the other people who will also get it from Amazon, because there'll be researchers poring over this and finding stuff. And there's probable cause for looking at all of it. And so I don't think there are any First Amendment issues on any of these things here. These are private companies, but really importantly, this is an attack on our government. And we have to keep that front and center.
Well, let me ask you about the First Amendment issues. Republicans are screaming it's them being silenced. These are private companies.
Yeah, they're private companies, so the First Amendment doesn't apply at all. And on them being silenced, excuse me, there is no right in the United States to incite insurrection. There is no right to attack somebody verbally or in person. There are very clear limits. And all of this stuff is so obviously on the wrong side of it. And we just shouldn't lose sight of that. And we should really recognize that Parler has been shut down because what it was doing was fundamentally dangerous. I think exactly the same logic can be applied to Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and needs to be. We need to have that conversation.
Roger McNamee, Brandy Zadrozny, thank you guys both. It is a conversation that is extremely important and one that we should have often.